and gentlemen, it's my absolute pleasure to welcome to the UltraRunning Magazine podcast. She is a no stranger to the Western States endurance run. In fact, she is a co-founder and the author of a new book titled Buckle Fever. I'd like to welcome to the show Shannon Weil onto the program. Shannon, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Scotty, and thank you for inviting me to join you today.
Oh, my absolute pleasure. I've been flipping through your book, and I wish I could say I've read it from cover to cover, which I promise I to do because going through it, it has just been nothing short of just great in-depth history and a personal walkthrough of a race that is so meaningful to you, which is emulated through your writing. And I just have to say that you're such a great writer that
Well, thank you so
I
much.
want to keep going with it. So I have to ask, well, let's before we get to the book, and we'll get to all about the book, but I
Okay.
want folks to get to know who Shannon is. So, who is Shannon, and what should people know about you?
Well, Shannon is I grew up in Pasadena in Southern California in the um and I ultimately, struggled with school, and my parents sent me off to a wonderful school called the Pacific Coast Equestrian Research Farm and School of Horsemanship, where I lived for a year. And it was literally the springboard of my life. And I wrote my first book is called Strike Along Trot, and it's about that school and Linda Tellington Jones, the woman who ran the school. And she introduced me to the Tevis Cup ride. She had the first buckle I'd ever seen. This was in 1969, 67 rather. And so they taught me about, how to do things. And the basis of the school was founded on the principles of the U.S. Cavalry methodology of horsemanship, which is about riding training and riding horses over long distances for long periods of time over rugged terrain at high speeds. So that is endurance riding. That's the basis of the sport of endurance riding on horses. So fast forward, when I first rode the Tevis in 1969, didn't finish, but came back and rode it again in I spent a lot of years in the horse industry, the thoroughbred horse racing industry in California and Kentucky, and was around basically horses all the time. But when I came back to endurance riding, because I didn't get a Tevis buckle and I really wanted one, so I rode the Tevis again in 1977. Lo and behold, there were 14 runners with the Tevis Cup horses. And because of my background with the Tellingtons and how they taught us how to do things and gave us, how to visualize things, I looked at those 14 runners and I said, this is going to be a hit and I'm going to make sure it is. And so I called Mo Livermore the following week and I said, I want to get involved with this little tiny seedling of an event. And so together I was at that time married to Phil Gardner, who was a pioneer of the sport of endurance riding, a good friend of Wendell Roby's. And so the four of us, Kurt Sproul, it was Mo and Kurt Sproul, and Phil and Shannon Gardner, became the Gang of Four and put together an infrastructure for an event that Gordy had set the in motion. Gordy actually did it, but he is self-professed a lousy organizer and manager, and he will tell you that. And so we put the framework together for the event. And I immediately got involved with working with Wendell Roby at his bank in Auburn, and it was like riding on the back of a whale and just taking off and making this incredible event happen. And Mo, as a lot of people know, we became Moshan, as in because we caused motion, right? So the picture behind me is a picture of Mo and me in 1980s 81 or 2 up on the Forest Hill Bridge overlooking the confluence. One of my favorite pictures when we were just youngsters. So
Wow.
anyway, we formed a great partnership and off we went. So there.
Wow, that's a great introduction to who you are, and honestly, I could spend a whole episode talking to you about your experience and endurance riding and the meaningfulness of it, and getting into the Tevis Cup, which is the springboard for Western States Endurance Run.
Yes.
I do think we should spend some time talking about that of what that is, because without that, there is no Western States
That is
Run.
true and correct. Yeah. And it
So
was Wendell Roby. Wendell Roby is the name of the game here. He was the one that set all this in motion.
yeah, and I do, and he is another person that you spend a lot of time talking about in your book because he's pivotal, as you are
Hmm.
saying, to all of this. So I want to make sure that we spend an appropriate amount of time talking about Wendell and his contributions to the sport, and how we all have a, you know, we all have a debt of gratitude to be paid to this man and his legacy for what
Yes.
he created. And I want to learn more about who he is. You know, many of us who have been so fortunate um, to walk, ride, recreate along the Wendell Roby Trail.
Hmm.
I want to be able to share with folks
Yeah.
just you know, when you are on that trail next time, of just paying some reverence to who
Yes.
he is and what he means. So,
Well,
um,
that was part of the reason for writing the book was I felt like his name was fading away,
yeah,
and I felt it was very important for people to remember who he is
yeah,
and
and
was.
yeah. Again, your writing about him is just it's so touching, and I kind of well,
He was like a grandfather to me,
yeah,
He was a surrogate grandfather for me,
yeah.
and I loved him dearly, and am so grateful for.
Yeah.
I mean, can I read something from the book that really sums it all up?
Oh, I was hoping you
Just a
would. So please,
one
please go ahead.
one
Yes,
paragraph
yes.
here. And this is in the introduction, and it says, the last time I saw Wendell Roby was in the spring of 1983 during a return visit to Auburn while I was living in the South Pacific for 2 years. As we said goodbye, he placed his hand on my shoulder, looked me square in the eye, and said, I want you to promise me you'll stay involved with the Western States Trail. It was a tender, emotional moment. Holding back tears, I nodded and replied, yes, I promise. I always will. He passed away that October. In the pages that follow, I share why I have kept that promise to Wendell ever since.
Okay, who's chopping onions? Because I'm getting teary eyed because you love this human being and he meant so much to you, and
Mhm,
you stayed true to your word as a co-founder
mhm.
of this organization, of this crazy ass sport. Um, and but let's talk about like how you stayed true to your word to him. What came
I
next? What
tell you
followed
what,
that? Yeah.
having a promise like that, making a promise like that, that was 1983. That was a long time ago, over 40 years ago, has been, the guiding light for my life. And my life works better when I live near the Western States Trail. I've tried to move away from it, and I just always come back. It's um, it's like a magnet for me. So.
What was the what was your introduction to um the I imagine it's probably Gordy, but if it's not, what was your introduction to long distance running of this nature? And what was your reaction to it? I mean, I imagine you could relate to it because of your writing, but
Yeah,
endurance
right.
running. What was your
Mhm.
initial response to this idea, or even hearing
Yeah.
that Gordy was going to attempt this back in 1974?
I didn't get involved until 77, but in 76, Phil Gardner and I went across the United States. We went on the Great American Horse Race, which evolved into covering a group of us left that traveling circus and moved and went up to St. Joe, Missouri, and took the entire Pony Express Trail home. So we were on the Pony Express Trail for 60 days, which was fabulous. It was outstandingly a high point in my life. And so we were really into understanding what it took to do big things, long distance things.
Mhm.
So by the time we got back in the fall of 76, and then we trained Rick and Lori Stewart were with us on the Pony Express Trail, and then they became really integral in helping us create the run as well. And they we all trained together. We trained our horses for the Tevis Cup ride for 77. So, it was just what we did, and we were always looking for great fun things to do. And as I say in the book, we all had skills and we knew how to use them. So so by the time we saw those 14 runners, it was like a natural, hey, I get this. I got it immediately.
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
just went, this is going to be a hit and I'm going to make sure it is.
Wow. Wow.
It was absolutely automatic. And people say, well, you were women, you and Mo were women. How did you do that? You were just women. Hey, we never thought about it twice. We just said, hey, yeah, let's do this. This looks like fun.
Mm-hmm.
And what we said was, we want to create opportunities to widen other people's horizons,
Wow.
to
Wow.
create opportunities, great opportunities for other people's lives,
Yeah.
because we'd been having them ourselves. We'd already been having great opportunities. So we wanted to create one where other people could have a great opportunity.
Yeah. Wow. And also to be surrounded by men who would celebrate you and and lift you up and support you on your
Hmm.
mission to do just that.
Yeah. Yeah. It was so fun. It was so fun. We just it was just everything flowed.
Yeah.
And Mo and I just clicked immediately, and we just found that my skills and her skills just created a whole. It was just wonderful. And we still work together, and we still work that way.
Yeah.
So
My honey and I, we saw you guys talking. It was like a fireside group chat. Uh it was maybe two years ago.
up at
Two Western states
Olympic.
ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
And just she is relatively new to the Western states world. But
Uh-huh.
the conversations and what you two shared really had a deep impact on her, and she got very emotional hearing your stories and your
Wow.
experiences there, and so I just want to share that aside with you.
Well, thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah.
appreciate that.
Um,
It's I mean, we just we had so much love for the trail, and Wendell loved that we loved the trail. And so we just took that love and we shared it with everybody. And that's exactly the root, of the Western States Endurance Run. Somebody asked me in an interview a while back, said, in one word, how would you sum up Western States? And I said, love.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
all about love,
yeah,
loving the trail, loving each other, and just widening our expanding our lives.
yeah, yeah. Um, as I was going through your book, I Um, I'm a Western State super fan. Like, I'm on the sidelines. I got the crazy rainbow hair wig and the number one foam
Hey,
finger, and I thought I knew a lot about Western states. I've had the good fortune to to interview a lot of folks over
right.
the last, gosh, 15 years now, about this event, and I there was so much more to extract from this the history of it, and you've really covered so much of this event and what makes it so special for folks,
Right.
and and I and what you said earlier resonated with me about about what I spoke about Wendell Roby, and just like I don't want him to fade away.
Hmm.
And this event, if you come into it now not knowing anything about the race at all, it's a spectacle now, you know,
Right.
and
Yeah.
far removed from its origins, like things do. It evolves, and that's okay.
And that's great. I
Yeah,
love it, you know.
yeah.
That's
But
fine with me.
yeah, and but I think it makes it even more critical as it continues to evolve for us to
Hmm.
know what the origins are, and we don't lose that reverence for what this event is and what it means.
Right.
I'd like to maybe extract from you what some of those things are in the pages of this book, or maybe from your own personal experience that are not included in these pages. So when you set out to write this book, what was kind of your inspiration? What was your motive? What was your hope um, for these?
Everything in this book came out of my memory. I haven't even hit my archives yet. So my next book, which I plan to do a next version of this, to go into some of the other bigger things that Western States has been involved with and some more of the stories. But all of it was just fun memories that are, rolling around in my head for all these years, and just the people that, the like Mad Dog Hoshler and, drinking his bourbon, his Scotch, bourbon whiskey, I.W. Harper, no ice, no glass. How do you train? No, stuff like that was just these fun little ridiculous things, But it was all just stuff that rolled out of my memory. I just made a long list and gathered up all this stuff and then just massaged it and put it together. And Rick Spady, for example, he was the best ultra runner from Montana for years, and every time he comes down to visit Auburn, he first thing he does is come over for a visit. And one day I just turned the recorder on and I said, "Oh, I'm just going to capture some of this." And I just thought, what he did for the trail all those years, working on it with his own chainsaw out there, way before I started the raffle where we would make enough money to really improve the trail. Rick was out there doing it by himself for 20 years, quietly.
Well,
So
um,
there's all kinds of people that, I've always felt like this race was big enough for everybody. There was always a place for somebody, anybody to fit in, to plug in, to be part of it, to be um, to be part of that love, be part of the Western States family, even if they didn't get along with this person or that person. And there was plenty of that, but there's it's big enough for everybody.
you're absolutely right. Um, and to use the word love to describe this race, that's exactly what it is, because it takes a lot
Yeah,
of love to put this event on.
yeah,
It's a love for each other, it's a love for the environment, it's a love for history, it's a love for so many things.
yeah. One of the years ago, in the early years, I used to just meditate a lot on the trail and how to improve it and things like that. And I would just go into this state and I would visualize a light going down the trail. And it would be like from, looking down on the planet and see this light going down the trail. And where the light was weak, I went, well, we need to fix that. And so Rex Maynard would come into the office, and he said, "What can I do?" I said, "We need an aid station at Devil's Thumb." And he'd go in and plug in an aid station, put in a great aid station at Devil's Thumb. And then I would meditate again. I go, "Okay, that's strengthened, And then I go, "Okay, where else do we need a light? Where else do we need to fortify the light, the energy going down the trail?" And then plug that in. And then that light, this is what this was a great revelation. I go, where does that light go? Okay, so all that light lives in the hearts of the volunteers. all year long. And so they bring that light and love back to the trail on race weekend and they light up the trail again. And it happens. And you know what it's like when Western States weekend comes. I get this feeling of this energy coming over the mountain. I feel it that way. And I just go, oh, here it comes, let it roll, and everybody comes in. They come in from all over the world to volunteer for that race. And um, they light up the trail with all the light and love, help you, all these people cross the mountain. And then afterwards, they go home and the light stays in their heart until next year.
And it keeps them coming back year after year,
Yeah,
year
yeah.
after year. Um,
Uh-huh.
so what, um, if someone picks up your book, and I you gotta pick up this book and buy it and read it. Trust your old friend Scotty here and do it. What are some of the things that they'll learn?
So this book is kind of written so that you could pick it up in anywhere. You could it's you could pick it up and read any chapter first and it would all make sense. It doesn't matter. But the main thing about this book is I really wanted to write the history of the buckle because we had a real rough start getting to the proper buckle, the buckle that I created in 1990 with, um, um, I think we went through 7 different buckles before we got to the Cougar buckle. And I designed, we were sitting on the lawn one day having a little meeting, and we wanted to create an icon for the race, to have an award. And I suggested the Cougar uh, Award because of Cougar Rock and because we run through the cougar's habitat. That was part of my job is to create the look and feel of the race, with my art background and so on. So that the cougar seemed the most prominent um, animal figure for us. And sure enough, I went to Franco Vanello in Napa, and he designed and created the first Cougar Award. And then when we got those going, we had 3 made a year, and we retroactively gave them to the winners of the years prior to that. That was like 85, I think we started with the Cougars. And then I had the logo made, the round logo. I worked with an artist in San Francisco, and then we, the buckle just wasn't there yet, and I wanted to tie it all together.
Mhm.
And so finally, in 1990, I put my Tevis buckle on the copy machine at work, and did some cut and pasting, and took took the copy to the board meeting that weekend. I worked when I was living in Marin County. I worked for a company in Corte Madera, and we had board meetings there quite often. And so I gave everybody a copy of this draft that I had, and every single meeting for years, and we had meetings every month, physical meetings, and I gave everybody a copy and I said, here's the buckle that we need to go back to. It's going to cost us $165. We're going to go back to Howard Stegman at Comstock Silversmith, and we're going to have the best buckle in the world. And that would have the cougar on it and everything. And every single meeting, we had an hour-long conversation about the damn buckles. And everybody looked at this draft and just went, okay, we voted on it and we had the cougar buckle made, the silver cougar buckle. We really couldn't afford it at the time. We were kind of broke at the time, as a race. Gary Toll, our treasurer, had to like kick in like $40,000 he loaned the race because we were so broke. But he got it paid back and everything. But so anyway, we got that buckle and everybody loved it. Everybody loved it. And then in 2000, in I think it was 2000, it was the year I moved up to Michigan Bluff. Um, Runner's World magazine had the best of everything about running in the country. And the best award you could receive at any race in the country was the Western States Cougars silver buckle.
Well,
And that made me pretty happy.
that would make me damn happy. Yeah,
Yeah.
and well deserved. The
Yeah.
buckle is so iconic for
Uh-huh.
this race. It's so coveted. It's if you know when you see it on
Yep.
someone's waist.
Yep.
Um, the first time I got to meet the buckle in person, it
Uh-huh.
was the first year I volunteered at Western States back in 2010,
Uh-huh.
and I worked the award ceremony, and so I got to open every box and
Yeah.
polish every damn buckle there was. And
Yeah. Aren't they great?
yeah, and holding it in like and knowing that okay, this buckle it's going to go to uh it's going to go to the winner. Who
Hmm.
was it was Jeff Rose that year.
Uh-huh.
What an amazing first Western States that was. Oh my God. Please watch Unbroken, uh, the documentary. But
Right.
is it Unbroken? Am I getting the title right?
Unbreakable.
Unbreakable. Thank you. Unbreakable.
Yeah.
Unbroken is the story about the guy who was in World War II, crashed his plane and
Z-
floated in the ocean.
Zamtini.
Yes, he was also a runner,
Right,
an
right,
Olympic
right.
runner at that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but yeah, and but also like saying, yeah, this is going to go to first place, male, female,
Mm,
and there's going to be a lot of these buckles that aren't going to go to anybody because they aren't going to finish the race, and
yeah.
just like and knowing that and
Oh,
like and the
you were really into it. Yeah.
very into it. Yeah,
Thinking about it.
yeah, and because that's so special, and even in,
Hmm.
in that time, it was still low odds that you could get into the race.
Right,
And like these guys worked forever to get
right.
into the race. They trained hard ass, months, dreaming of this and getting
Hmm.
this, because you don't finish nada,
Yeah.
nothing.
Yeah. And
Um,
every single one of those buckles is handmade.
yeah,
They're all handmade.
yeah,
That's what's so beautiful. To me, my personal opinion is that's the best buckle in the world.
yeah.
Uh, um, um, Comstock Heritage is the best buckle maker there is.
Um,
James Christian.
can you?
He's
Yeah, let's talk about him for a second and
Mhm.
the significance of Comstock.
Yeah. So, okay, so it started out as and I go into the full detail, starting with the Windjammers showing up in San Francisco Bay for the gold rush, and the Irving started the Buckle Company. Not it wasn't it actually made you know badges for the police department, the fire department. It was badges for utilities in San Francisco. And then he got a partner. He went through the San Francisco earthquake in 1906, and
Wow.
restarted the company and, did everything burned to the ground and had to get going again. And, it's just so much of the grit, of what Western States is made of. I wanted to show what the company that makes those fabulous buckles went through as well, and the hardships they went through to finally get what they wanted.
Yeah.
So the company actually, by the 1950s, was based in Daly City, and Christian Stegman was the president of the company. And Wendell Roby worked with Christian Stegman to create the Tevis Cup buckle. The Tevis, it's the Western States Trail Ride buckle,
Mhm.
and later became known as the Tevis Cup ride because Lloyd Tevis, his grandsons donated the Tevis Cup, beautiful Tevis Cup, to the event. It's a nickname, Tevis Cup. It's a nickname for the Western States Trail Ride. But anyway, so Stegman and Wendell Roby created the buckle, fabulous buckle. And when I first saw that buckle, my eyes popped out on stems, and I have to have one of those. And then I figured out how difficult it was, and I went, oh, okay, I guess I have to work hard for this,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know, which is why they're so coveted. So then, Christian Stegman's son, Howard Stegman, moved the jewelry business, buckle and jewelry business, to Carson City, and he moved his family over there. And so they had Comstock Silversmith over there. And I used to go over there. I went over several times, and I adored Howard Stegman. He was like an uncle, you know. And then when he was aging out, his son James started becoming very involved with the business. And then when Howard passed, James took the business up to Reno. It's at his home, and where he has the whole thing right at his house. And he renamed it Comstock Heritage. And he's doing a fine job. He's continuing the legacy of the whole business. So it's and he doesn't use the last name Stegman. He just uses James Christian,
Mhm.
which is interesting to me, but he's definitely related. And he bought 24 of these books to have them, you know, on hand for his customers.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah.
Um,
Because it was the only place where the history of his company existed
yes.
is in Buckle Fever.
See, this is why your book's so damn important.
Yeah.
It's important.
Yeah.
Um,
You know, I mean, I like to write, I'm a nonfiction person because I'm very dyslexic. And if I'm going to read, I damn well be learning something, you
yeah.
know? So, Strike Along Trot is 40 years of history, you know, and so I really believe in documenting history of things.
We are so cut from the same cloth, Shannon. Just because I too I love history.
Uh-huh.
Candace Millard's one of my favorite authors, and her books are just you know unreal. Just windows into our past.
Uh-huh.
And
Yeah.
so I don't know why I'm saying that. Maybe because I have a book on the way. I'm excited to read.
Well,
Her.
Lauren Hillenbrand is my favorite author who wrote Unbroken and
Yeah,
Seabiscuit, you
yeah,
know.
yeah. She's another
Yeah,
noteworthy
right,
contemporary who's just
right.
amazing. I love her too.
I really studied her style a lot and
I,
value her.
I'm seeing the beginnings of a book club, Shannon. I don't know. With you and
Mm,
I. um,
right.
and one could say that when you first saw the Tevis Cup um,
Hmm.
buckle, that you may have had the first case of buckle fever in the country.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Instant.
Yeah,
Instant.
yeah, yeah. It,
Instant.
it's
Yeah.
it's funny what motivates us sometimes. It's got to have that, got to have that, got to have that. You know,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
but the but Western states, it's not about the buckle. You know, um, for so many, it is wonderful and such an honor to receive that for your
Hmm.
accomplishments. Yeah. Um,
It's a
but
reminder of a great day, you know.
not just a great day. I mean, it's
Yeah, a great experience, you know.
you included and I don't say that to minimize the buckle by any means at all.
I
Um,
understand.
yeah. Um, but you included uh, a portion from Tony Rossman that he wrote an
Yes.
op-ed for the LA Times back in
Yes.
1985. Um,
Hmm.
that is read the weekend before Western States every year, and really carries the essence of what this event means.
Hmm.
Um,
So
It-
so that piece is read, I mean it's you can find it in several places, but I wanted it in this book because it is so important. It is so valuable to why, why we do this.
yeah.
And Tony is just, gosh, he is so brilliant.
Can I read a segment from that?
Sure,
Is that
please.
okay? Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, the highest award of the Western states becomes a self-assurance that celebrates this event before it begins. In spite of the distinction of that silver buckle, and perhaps because of it, Western states proves that honor lies not so much in reaching the finish line as in daring to arrive at the start. Um, and it's that last part of that sentence of honor lies not so much in reaching the finish as it is as in daring to arrive at the start.
Uh-huh.
Just
Yep.
yeah, it just that really hit me pretty hard
Mm-hmm.
when I first read that. And I think it's going to be become somewhat of a mantra. I think,
Well, I agree. Yeah.
and there's so many, and that's one of the things I love about this book and how you've carefully edited the book to draw these pieces out. Um, you know, and for anyone who has dreams of running Western states, maybe they hope to get into the lottery in just a few months, um, or even if they've run it before, or
Yeah.
volunteered.
Speaking of the lottery, I am honored and privileged to be able to be a picker at the lottery and pick 20 names.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that every single name that I pick out of there, I'm changing their lives. I'm changing their lives that day. And I always make a list of them and I track them. I follow them through the race. And, I mean, I think like 6 people out of the 20 that I picked even reached the starting line last year.
Wow.
So it's hard, you know. I mean, I'm really glad that Craig has the waiting list now because it gives so many more people an opportunity to be picked on that day,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Um,
So,
so what other aspects of the race have you been involved with?
um, well, for example, I started the raffle. It took me 4 years to get one entry from the board. I said, I can make money for the race. And they go, well, we don't know. We don't know about that. And so I finally got one entry in 2000. And the first year I made $600. And that was all for the trail because we needed to pitch in and start contributing to trail work because the run wasn't doing that much trail work. It was mostly being done by the ride in those days. And so, okay. And then the second year made $1,200. And then people realized that that guy over there just won an entry and I better buy some tickets. And now that raffle has made $1 million for the run.
Get out. Seriously?
True and
Oh my
correct.
gosh.
Yep. Yep.
Wow. Wow.
It's a huge moneymaker for the run.
Huge.
And so it helps, that's why you see so much trail work going on, these huge projects out on the trail. 60 people go out. I mean, they have all the equipment they need, they have all the resources they need, they have, food for everybody, all that comes from the raffle.
Yeah.
And then also, the raffle started generating so much money that it also pays for medical studies too. And Western States is the only race that has, and that's thanks to the saint, Dr. Robert Lind, Bob Lind,
Mhm.
who I just adored that man. He was so fabulous. and he started the medical studies years ago, and
Years ago.
years ago. And he was with the race from the inception. And um yeah, so Western States has really contributed back to the sport with all those medical studies. So that's
God, you talk about the right people at the right time to be part of something. Um,
yeah. Oh yeah, it's amazing. I mentioned earlier that Gordy Ainsley and I frequently just kind of have a chat. We visit pretty often, Um, and he was kind enough to give me his story for this book too, which is so wonderful. The first year that he ran it is chapter 2, that's the day of the way it all began. But Gordy and I frequently say how lucky we were to be so young and to be in the light, in the realm of Wendell Roby,
mhm,
who helped nourish all of this and helped us launch this event. You know, he was really, the quarterback for this. And thank God for Gordy to have the imagination to want to try this
yeah, yeah,
and the wherewithal. And when somebody said, "Nah, you can't do that," that made him want to do it
oh yeah,
even more,
yeah. I can only imagine um,
Yeah.
what that must have
And
been like, and
we,
the
to be
courage.
around Drew Barter and Wendell Roby, magic, absolute magic. You would at the Hart Federal Savings and Loan, you'd go, when Mo and I would go in and see Drew or something like that. Their desks were shoved up right next to each other. They worked together very closely. And you walked in and it was like mom and dad right there, and they
Mhm,
were like, and Wendell, they flourished. They made everybody flourish around them because Wendell wanted his his endurance riding community to thrive, so he would easily give you a loan for a property, a home for your horses, whether qualified or not. Here, yeah, take all this money, go buy that house, and then you be part of our endurance riding community.
mhm,
That he
mhm.
just trusted everybody, and everybody lived up to their promises to him. And we would go in, and I mean, remember the first time Mo and we worked on this little project, a our first 4-page brochure for the run, and we put it all together, and we went in and showed Drew, and she just looked at it and says, "Oh, that's great, gals. Okay, off you go. Take the run and fly with it," was her message. Take the run. Because she was, in her later years, and Wendell was, they didn't want to take on a new event.
Mhm.
And Drew was pretty funny, she said, "I don't know what it is with those people, why they want to run 100 miles, but there they go. So she was happy for us to come along and take it, and oh, we were just thrilled, thrilled.
Let's I can't. How old were you back then?
I think I was 29.
I can't imagine being handed the reins of
Yeah.
this and just saying,
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, I mean, we were creating the reins. We were putting the bridle together.
yeah,
Is what it amounted to.
yes,
Is
yes, wow,
I don't know why we felt like we were so capable,
yeah,
but we sure did.
yeah, yeah. Well,
We just said we can do this.
yeah. But to have the support and leadership
Yeah.
and vision uh, for someone
Hmm.
that's you know that's a community leader
Yeah.
in Wendell Roby,
Right.
it's got to be a little empowering. Like, yeah, yeah, if these guys say that we can do it, and to believe in yourself
Yeah.
to do it. Let's talk about Wendell and who um Who is Wendell Roby?
So his family, um, his mother was a toll and of the Toll family, and they were up in Alta, um, um, and they were in the timber business, the Toll brothers, and they had a lumber company in Auburn. So they would move the timber down from Alta and then mill it at the lumber company in Auburn. Okay, so where's the lumber company? Well, today, the Western States Endurance Run is can be located in the basement of the old lumber company.
No kidding.
Yeah.
No kidding.
And that was right next to the Hart Federal Savings and Loan. So Wendell had a little complex there. He had his savings and loan, and then he built that new building. I still call it the new building. It was built in 1976. And the first time I ever laid eyes on Gordy Ainsley, Phil Gardner and I were driving over to see Wendell and Drew, and they were just laying the foundation for that building. And Phil said, "See that guy over there with the long hair? That's Gordy Ainsley. He's the first guy that ran Western States, you know." So, um, and yeah, so it was, it was very, very deep roots right there. And actually, the reason um, why the run is there. After Greg Soderlund took the run, well, Norm took the run down to Rancho Cordova, and then Greg Soderlund had a warehouse down in Sacramento. And then when Craig Thornley took the run over as the race director, I heard that he wanted to move it back to Auburn, and I went, yay. So I went down, jotted down a phone number, and sent Craig an email, and I said, call this number. And boom, he found warehouse space under the old lumber company.
Crazy.
So lots of things like that were always just channeling through me.
Yeah.
I would just go bing, 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 and make things happen just from the sidelines. I just always had that, always had this energy for the run. I can't help it. It just sort of comes to me. And I always had pretty good judgment about the run.
You're letting it fly.
Yeah,
Come on.
yeah.
Yeah.
I've always let it flow and fly. And so sure enough, it's worked out beautifully.
Yeah.
Worked out really well.
Yeah. Um, so what was Wendell like?
So he was about 5'8", and he was like made out of tough sinew. He was really a tough guy, and he loved to ride his horses. And growing up, he was fascinated by the pioneers, and he was of an age where he was born in the late 1800s. So he he was of an age where he could still know some of the old pioneer gold miners, some of those old crusty people from the gold rush era. So he was fascinated by them. And he would he wanted to share that. He always wanted to like share what he knew with us, with us youngsters. And so for instance, he would holler at I sat outside my desk at the Hart Federal Savings was just outside of his office, and he'd go, "Honey, come in here." And so I would go into his office, and I would sit in these wooden chairs right next to his desk, and he would tell me stories about the gold rush and the era and the history. And one of them specifically was he taught me that there were three routes coming over the Sierra Nevada mountains. One was now Highway 50, but that was the Pony Express Trail, right? So then the northern route is now Highway 80, but it was started out as Highway 40, and that was the most viable route for the covered wagons, for the wagon trains. But the most direct route from Virginia City, where the silver came from, to Sacramento was the Western States Trail. It was called the Immigrant Trail at the time. And so he learned about this trail in 1929, 1930 from Robert Montgomery Watson. Watson Monument at the top of Immigrant Pass, right? So, and Robert Montgomery Watson, who I just have great respect for, was the constable at Kings Beach, and so he rode around. And then the year before he died at about age 77, something like that. He built the monument up at Watson Monument, at Immigrant Pass, which some people erroneously call the escarpment, but it's not the escarpment. It's called Immigrant Pass. The escarpment is that shortcut from Shirley Lake's lift up to where it catches the road again.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that because I named that.
You named it?
I named it the escarpment.
No kidding.
Mm-hmm.
Why did you give
Yeah,
that
one
name?
day Mo called me one day and said, listen, the trail used to go around and there was this really steep climb with, scaly, rough rocks and everything. And Mo said, we're just going to take the trail up that shortcut, but we need a name for it. And I said, well, describe it to me. And she goes, well, it's really, all these loose rocks and everything. I said, well, that's the escarpment. And she goes, okay, great. So that became the escarpment, right?
Just like that.
So it's only like 300 feet long, 300 yards long, I'll
Uh-huh.
say, That's it, the escarpment. But now everybody says, oh, I'm going up to the escarpment. And they think that it's all the way up to Immigrant Pass. That is Immigrant Pass. It's not the escarpment. The escarpment's very short. So, but everybody calls it the.
So next time I'll say, if someone says, where are you going? Oh, we're going to go to escarpment. And they, before the race starts, I'm like, well, I hope you know how to get there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, why don't you just go to Immigrant Pass? You'll see more. So, I mean, I've been trying to slow this train down for years, and I'm not sure if I'm going to make any a dent in it because, even Dylan Bowman's talking about the escarpment in his podcast and stuff, and I'm going, ah!
I've been waiting in the escarpment for 2 hours. I've yet to see Jim Walmsley. What the hell? Well,
yeah, right. Yeah. So anyway, bless their hearts,
Yes.
It's just gotten away. It's just gotten away. So I don't know what's going to happen.
When
some things I just have to not, worry about.
Yeah. So let's go back to Wendell. You were talking about he was educating you about the Western States Trail from Virginia City to Sacramento.
Right.
Yeah.
So then the most direct route was from, through the canyons. Now, this is well documented in Brewer's book up in the Journals of William H. Brewer. And I love his description of him coming over the Sierra Nevada mountains, and they got on the wrong trail. They were supposed to go down the route that is essentially the road that goes from Forest Hill up to Robinson Flat, but they ended up coming down the ridge that took them to Last Chance and into the canyons, and then up to Deadwood, Devil Sum, and then into El Dorado Canyon, into Michigan Bluff. And he talks about that in the 1860s, he's talking about that, and they had to pay a toll of $1.50 to get through this incredibly rugged canyon that if any mule or horse was to fall, they would fall to their certain death if they were to go off the trail, and how dramatic it was and how scary and how dangerous it was. Well, honestly, that whole description could have been written last month. It's still like that.
Yeah.
It's, to me, the heart of the trail is from Last Chance to Forest Hill, the three canyons. the North Middle Fork of the American Canyon, El Dorado Canyon, and Volcano Canyon. That's the heart of the trail. And that's the part of the trail that both the Tevis Cup Ride and the Western States Run always use. There's no variables there. You cannot, there's no place to go. You have to go through those canyons. The courses change at the river crossing, for example, and in the high country and things like that. But not that part of the trail. Everybody has to cross that in order to get a buckle
Yeah.
of either the run or the ride.
Brutal,
Yeah,
brutal conditions.
yeah, yeah. So anyway, Wendell was he would go out with his horses and he would ride, and he would not just ride the trail, but he would ride cross country, whether it was thrashing through the brush or whatever. If he wanted to get from here to there, he would just take the most direct route. He was crazy. And the one great story was from Pat Plankers. Pat Plankers was the guy that sold Gordy the horse that went lame. And Pat was out riding with Wendell one day.
One shout out to Pat. Way to go, buddy.
Yeah, bless his heart. And he was riding with Wendell. And he says, "Wendell, I'm getting a little hungry. Are we going to stop for lunch?" And he goes, "Well, I brought an extra hole in my belt for lunch." Tighten your pants up, buddy.
I'm using that one now and forever.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Just tighten your belt.
And that's why I love learning about our history and is a notable person like Wendell, just because seemed to be just a one of a kind human being.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Well, and I do include the story that my friend Ro Bailey, who was one of the early volunteers of the run and the ride, and she told the story about going for a ride in Wendell's big Oldsmobile and how he took it down the road from White Oak Flat down Ponderosa McKeon Ponderosa Road, and he actually drove his car across the river. So that was back in the years when there was a bridge there that washed out, and then they brought in a whole bunch of huge boulders. And even today, when for the river crossing for the run, you grab the rope, but then you're straddling all these huge boulders that are in the river. But these big boulders are the original base of a rock dam that went in there. And back in the like 60s, late 60s, we used to ride our horses across Rucky Chucky. That was still left over from that rock dam that went in there. And all the gravel's washed away and everything, and now it's just the big rocks that are there. But that's what Wendell drove his car across that.
Crazy.
I mean, I'm glad that I was able to ride across it on my horse because I really know that existed, But he would do anything. And also when he was young, he would ride on the buckboards, on the wagons. The horses would haul big timbers from the lumber company, going back to the lumber company activity. And he would jump on a wagon with the wagon driver, and they would haul big timbers up to the Slager Mine, right? It would take a week to get up there. It takes 40 minutes in a car today, but it would take a week to get up there. And then he was thrilled. He loved that. He loved that. Just hanging out with all those old timers,
Yeah.
And then I remember him also talking about how, in the afternoon, it was really fun to go and get a Coca-Cola when he was a kid, go get a Coca-Cola, because in those days it still had cocaine in it. So
That's right. It
yeah,
did.
he enjoyed that.
I think everybody did.
Yeah, yeah, he enjoyed that.
Yeah. He seemed to be a man of just to exude many things, but
Yeah,
grit um,
yeah,
is one of them. Just looking at these
mhm,
photos of him.
yeah. He had a big booming voice, just big, and he called all the women honey. Everybody was honey. So everybody, honey, come here, honey, because it was easier than remembering names. So, I mean, he was kind of a chauvinist in that way, but to me, I worked there in the 70s, and it was what it was. We had to wear dresses, even though it was a state law that women could wear pants,
Uh, yeah.
not with Wendell. We had to wear dresses.
Uh-huh. I saw it.
So,
I saw a photo online this week. It was a woman being uh, she was being bear hugged from behind by a police officer, and she's being thrown
oh,
into a paddy wagon because she was wearing pants.
oh, really?
Yeah, yeah,
Huh.
yeah. Sign of the times from
Yeah,
I don't know what era it was. It was a black and white photo, so it wasn't modern times
yeah.
or even
Uh-huh.
really close to it. But yeah. So
Yeah,
so
interesting.
interesting.
He wanted us to wear dresses, but he didn't mind us going out and riding a horse 100 miles.
No, no. What a juxtaposition that is.
Right.
If if Wendell was to um materialize right now, I know you'd have many things to
Mhm.
tell him, but what do you think he would say about about the Western Trail and what happens on the trail
He would
nowadays?
love it. He would love it, love it, love it, love it. He would love it. He would love it. Absolutely love what's going on. Um, one thing he taught me was to always do things that would make an impact in 20 years, which is why I started the raffle, which is why the trail work was so valuable, which is, just all plan for 20 years out. And I always knew that the Western states would be huge. And people say, well, how did you know that? How did you know that? Well, I just had a sense of it. Well, you didn't know it would be this big. What's big? Big, big, big. Big is big.
Mhm.
Um, I didn't realize that ultrarunning would become an $80 billion a year sport. That's that was a bit of a surprise, but it is the case, and I'm okay with that. I love that. I love what's going on. I love everything about it.
As someone who has more or less been there from the beginning,
Uh-huh.
um, what like reflecting upon it now of what has just grown exponentially in endurance
Yeah.
running and people pushing the limits of themselves, and just like there being so many people wanting to test themselves to
Yeah.
you know
I love it because here's something funny is I always traveled when I was young. I did a lot of traveling. No. Um and I I would see people in the sport of ultra running, and they were just like, just go run this 50 miler or that 100 miler," and that's all they were doing was running ultra races, and that was it. And I was like going, "Oh God, I want to go to Papua New Guinea, or I want to do this or do that." And I was like frustrated that all these people wanted to do was run. Well, today, who goes to Chamonix? Who goes to, you know, people are going all over the world
yeah
to go to races
yeah
now.
yeah
Who goes to Auburn, California?
yeah yeah
Every it's become a world sport,
yeah
and people are traveling. That makes me so happy
yeah
because people are traveling and going to other cultures and other countries to run.
yeah um
So that solved that problem for me.
it's one of my favorite things to do at Western states, and and over at, especially at at Canyons UTMB, where
Yes.
it's a more concentrated mass of people at
Yeah.
UTMB, and there's a lot more people because a lot more people can run it. But just to sit and just be still and listen
Yeah.
for all the different languages that you're going to
Mhm.
hear in this one spot,
Right.
and then also to to get this sense of pride
Yeah.
of people are coming here to run your local trails, to
Yeah.
visit your local shops, to eat in your
Right.
restaurants, and really get a sense of what your community means and the people they're going to
Right.
meet along the way, from their fellow competitors to the
Yeah.
volunteers who are out there.
Yeah.
And yeah,
Well, as you know, I was a founder of Auburn as the endurance capital of the world.
mhm.
And I found 1978, after the run, I said to Wendell Roby, I said, Wendell, Auburn should be the endurance capital of the world. He goes, oh, that's nice, honey. And I went, okay, well, he didn't say no, you
Didn't say
know?
no.
He didn't say no. And of course, it took 28 years or something for that to happen, but we made it happen. And now at Canyons, we have our endurance capital tent set up. We're the first booth that you see when you come through the expo. And we love talking to people from all over the world. And then we send trinkets home to them, and we give away all kinds of stuff there, and we love it. It's I mean, we make a list of the countries that come by, and it's fabulous.
Yeah,
It's wonderful. We
yeah,
love it.
yeah. um, for those who are interested in going even um, learning more about the Western States Trail, I'm really happy to say that the Western States Museum is open to the public.
No,
Um,
it's not.
it's not.
Not yet.
I take
No.
that back. Please retract
Yeah.
that.
No.
Let's
It's
rewind the tape. Anyways,
it's
I hope that there's a new Western States Museum coming soon.
we hope so. Yes.
Huh.
I'm no longer involved with that, but
Okay.
I it was not going as fast as I wanted it to go, and so I said, I think I'm going to go home and finish my book. So
Oh,
I
that's
did.
too bad. I remember I so for my job I work for Placer County, and I work in communications as a public information officer, and one of the many divisions I get to work with is our museums division, who puts
Right,
on a summer-long heritage trail tour, which offers free
which is
museums
wonderful.
throughout the summer. And and I thought that I did some artwork
Yeah.
for the um, highlighting
They
the Western States Trail.
they open for that for
Oh, I
the
see.
Heritage
Okay,
Trail.
gotcha.
They just put up a little display, but it's
Display.
not
Okay.
uh they're not open yet.
Well, I hope it
I don't
happens.
know.
Yeah, I hope it happens.
I hope so too. I
Yeah,
hope so too. But yeah, it was like boldly going nowhere fast, and
yeah,
I figured that I'm 78 now, so I had to put my time where I could get things done.
yeah.
So,
And thankfully, you did and poured it into this book,
yeah,
and made this happen. So before I let you go, and I really have just enjoyed our conversation immensely. Um,
likewise. Yeah.
and I hope we get to do it again. I would love, love, love to talk to you and interview you in person at Western States next year. Um,
Let's do it.
but on that note, how do you like to spend your time during Western States weekend after the run
Oh,
starts?
well, see, now I feel um, I get to do whatever I want.
Yeah, you do.
And I've done, well, for years, after I got through really being in the harness and doing the work to put the race on, after that, I spent a number of years with the Shannon tour. I had the Shannon tour, and that was taking either Auburn dignitaries or like the city manager. I He didn't understand why Auburn should be the endurance capital of the world. And I said, "Come with me. I'll show you the race." And so I took him out, and he was absolutely blown away. Never seen anything like it, which is true. And he immediately got on board to make Auburn the endurance capital of the world. That was 2003, for example. And then one year I had the distinct pleasure of taking U.S. Senator from Montana. Oh, how could I forget his name? Um, a wonderful person. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot his name. But I took him out and showed him the course, and he loved it too. And but I just had a really wonderful time showing people what this race was all about. And um, so I get to do what I feel like. I mean, like in 2006, I had my friend Jason Davis with me, and we were just hanging out and watching the race, and we're
Oh
down at the
my
river. We watched
God.
Brian Wilson and Scott Jurek come through, and
Your
then
your retelling of the Brian Morrison story, it
mhm.
that is worth the price of admission to purchasing this book. It is so good because you hear the whispers during Western States Weekend. Did you hear about Brian Morrison?
Yeah,
Yeah, do you know the Brian
yeah,
Morrison story? But to get from from the gospel
yeah,
of people who were there,
yeah.
to that retelling of the story. I don't want to
Uh-huh.
share what happened. Don't share what happened because people need to read the damn book
Right.
to read it. But
Uh-huh.
also the redemption of his story.
Right.
Damn
Yeah.
it, so good. Oh my god.
He's got a book coming out. It's close. I've been kind of helping him. Uh, but he's got a book coming out. Hopefully, we want him to have it out by Western States this
Oh
year
please. Oh
because we
please.
want to have him with us.
Oh Western States Trail Gods, we pray to
Yeah,
thee that this
yeah,
will happen.
yeah. Brian is wonderful. He's
Ugh,
just a wonderful guy, and
yeah,
he's really a good writer too.
yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah.
What a
Um,
story.
I'm happy to plug his book. Yeah,
Anytime. Anytime.
he's
Yeah.
good. But anyway, that whole story, uh, that was big, that was huge. And having Tommy Rivers in there too, and you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
it was it was again, it showed, as I described in the beginning of that chapter, it shows how enormous the Western States stage is
Yeah.
and how many years it can take for something to come full circle, for example, to heal itself, to cause pain and to heal itself. And I do, honestly, Western States is, I am so grateful that I was involved with it. And, it's like a long time ago. That's, the early years of this was so much a part of my life. And today I look at that and I go, wow, I got to do that. I got to do that.
Wow. What an
That's
amazing
pretty
feeling.
special.
Um, it is. If someone, and I could not encourage you more to get this book, but if they want to buy the book, where can they find it?
It's available on Amazon. It's available at the Auburn Running Company, the Wild Runners in Auburn. It's at REI in Folsom. We're going to be doing some book signings coming up in November. One over in Reno and a couple here in El Dorado County. And I have a website called bucklefever.com, and I'll post information on there about where we'll be. And I have a Facebook page, Buckle Fever. I'll put the information on there too.
The Buckle Fever website. I was scrolling through it, and the images that you provide there is well worth the visit. To
Yeah.
there, it's just a great walkthrough to see the people in the pages of this book. To brings life into
Uh-huh.
the cast of characters that you write about.
Yeah.
Thank
I,
you for
I
doing all
put
that.
this in. I put this out in soft cover first, which is usually the reverse. People go hardcover, but we had a little problem. We had a little problem getting this published before Western States last year, which I won't bother to bore anybody with. But I'm thinking about putting the pictures in the hardcover book, which I think would be really fun.
Support.
Yeah,
Totally support that. Absolutely. Yes.
yeah. And
100%.
then there it would be. But I put all the pictures on the website, and old pictures of Jim King. God, what a god he is, and when he was running, first guy to win 3 times, and I mean, honestly, I mean, I see today people going, well, who's better, Jim King or Jim Walmsley or Scott Jurek? And I go, well, wait a minute, you guys. What about all the other people that were
Mhm.
racing, doing incredible things of their era?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, hey, there were some pretty special things going
Oh my
on.
gosh. The story about Sally and what's her name? Uh,
Bjork,
Bjork.
yeah,
Jeez Louise. Oh my God.
yeah.
Oh my God. What a story.
Uh-huh. I have a friend that mentioned that we should have like they had the Gym Fest a couple years ago, with Jim King and Jim Howard,
Uh-huh.
have the Sally and Bjorg, have them do a panel, which would be really fun.
Yes, please. I'll be there for it.
Yes, please.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
And what Anne did, Anne Trayson, my God,
Unreal.
watching all
Unreal.
honestly, that was fabulous. She was so spectacular. I always used to say, here, I would go get the cougars. I'd pick them up from Franco Vanello, take them home. They'd live in my house for a couple of weeks, and I would love them and, feed them and pet them and everything.
Yeah.
And then I would take them to Western States. We'd go up to Olympic Valley. I'd show them off. I'd take them to the finish, and then we would take them to the awards ceremony and then hand one to Anne.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
14 of them. They were so stunning.
In a class of her own. In a class of her
Absolutely.
own.
Yeah.
I would love to have been there back in the day to see her run. Um,
Yeah.
oh my gosh.
She was spectacular.
Yeah.
Absolutely spectacular.
Yeah.
Honestly, I just adore that woman. She
Yeah.
is amazing.
She again, one of the many people
Yeah.
that are legends of
Yep.
this event.
Yeah. And, I mean, today, all the women that are doing well, from Courtney to Katie to Shy to Ruth Croft, all these fabulous women,
All of
they're
them.
all standing on Anne's
They
shoulders,
are. They
know?
really are. Yeah. Yeah. And showing what is possible and
Yes.
just define there are no limits. There are no damn
Mhm.
limits.
Yep.
Yeah. You give me a
Yeah.
limit and I'll show you I can break right through it. Watch me.
Right.
Watch
Uh-huh.
me. Yeah.
Yeah. I spend a lot of time watching um, documentaries, videos of podcasts of people in the sport because I took years off. I took years off to write the other book. Well, I really wasn't paying attention to what was going on, who the racers were. I mean, there's various eras of competitors, and I took time off, and now this last year, especially when really in the last year when I started finishing the book, I really spent a lot of time finding out who's who in the sport now. Absolutely blown away. Just wonderful, wonderful people out there just doing incredible things.
Yeah.
Fabulous stuff. I love it.
Yeah.
Absolutely love it. I'm so proud of this sport, of
Yeah.
trail running and
Yeah.
all of it.
Well, we all owe a debt of thanks to you, and everyone else who were there from the beginning and were a part of it.
We made a great family, and we
We
made it
sure did. Um, Shannon, I cannot wait to meet you in person. We're going to talk.
Yeah,
We're
looking
going to talk
forward
about a
to it.
lot of things: dogs,
Yeah,
books, history,
Yeah.
So much, so much.
Octopuses. I noticed your octopus cup. Yeah. See, I got my turtle cup.
Yeah,
So
I have
love
vowed
that.
never to eat octopus ever in my life.
I agree.
Just after I learned how intelligent they are. So
Mhm.
cheers to the octopus.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. I agree entirely. I'm the same way. Well, marvelous to be with you today. I really have enjoyed this.
Me too. I'm absolutely tickled by you. I cannot wait to do it again. Really, it's going to happen
Yeah.
again. So I wish you do all the best in your life. Good luck with the book. I wish it all the success in the world. And I will
Thank you.
buy the paperback. I'll buy the hardcover. Whatever you're doing, I'm in. I'm absolutely in. You're such a talented writer and designer.
Thank you.
You mean so much to us
Ah,
all. Thank
dear,
you.
dear. Thank you.
Okay,
Well, okay, we'll collide soon, okay?
sounds good. I can't wait for it. All right, have a great rest of
Okay.
the day.
Yeah. All right, you too. Thank you. Bye-bye.